The sun began its gentle ascent, casting a warm glow over the airport. The atmosphere was serene, tranquil, and brisk. Within the terminal's embrace, Ibrahim Traoré stood with serene grace near Gate 37. He chose not to don a suit. He was unaccompanied by any bodyguards. He bore no extravagant adornments. To many, he appeared as merely another wanderer from Africa. Yet, this gentleman was far from ordinary. He was Ibrahim Traoré, the esteemed president of Burkina Faso. He favored to journey in this manner, modest, intimate, and serene. Silence reigns, free from the intrusion of cameras and boisterous announcements. Such was the grace of his movements. He cherished the art of connection, seamlessly merging with those around him, remaining rooted in the essence of life. His return from a diplomatic meeting in Europe was as unremarkable as ever. He had concluded significant discussions, engaging in matters of gold, sovereignty, and the future of Africa. Yet now, his heart yearned solely for the embrace of home. As he strolled toward the Air France flight destined for Ouagadougou, he exchanged a warm smile with one of the airport workers, greeting them in French. "Bonjour, comment vas-tu?" The worker returned the smile, blissfully ignorant of the true essence that lay within him. Such was the way Traoré preferred it. He stepped onto the plane with a quiet grace, offering a courteous nod to the flight crew before settling into his seat in business class, row 2A, where the window beckoned with promises of distant horizons. He believed that no one noticed, that no one cared. A few rows behind him, soft whispers began to weave through the air. A distinguished French businessman, the CEO of a prominent energy company, was also making his way to Burkina Faso. He had grown accustomed to the finest of treatments. Crimson carpets, sparkling champagne, and the finest of everything. Yet, upon his arrival at the gate, the airline informed him that business class had already reached its capacity. The CEO was not pleased. He would not take no for an answer. It was then that the tension began to unfold. Softly at the beginning, a mere request that would swiftly transform into a tempest. The French CEO found himself unaccustomed to the sound of the word non gracing his ears. He lingered at the boarding gate, enveloped by attentive assistants and airline staff, his polished shoes tapping softly in a dance of impatience. Je suis un partenaire stratégique de plusieurs projets en Afrique, dit-il avec uncertain arrogance. I serve as a strategic partner in numerous projects across Africa. To him, it signified that rules held no sway. He requested a seat upgrade without delay. The gate agents hurriedly attended to their tasks. They murmured softly. They gracefully glanced at their tablets. Yet, the truth was elegantly simple. The business class was completely occupied. Every seat was occupied. Yet, the CEO remained resolute. It was at that moment the airline summoned a distinguished senior flight attendant. She stood tall, her fair complexion accentuated by the elegant Air France uniform she wore. Her name was Claire, a melody that danced softly on the lips of those who spoke it. She donned a smile that felt both distant and rehearsed as she stepped onto the plane, determined to mend the circumstances at hand. Upon entering, Claire surveyed the cabin with keen eyes, as if she were in pursuit of a hidden treasure, or perhaps a certain someone. Her gaze lingered for a heartbeat as it fell upon the dark-skinned man in seat 2A. Ibrahim Traoré sat in serene repose, engrossed in the glow of his phone, exuding a tranquil elegance as always. She cast her gaze once more. No lavish timepiece. There is no assistant available. There is an absence of power. Merely a gentleman cloaked in a hoodie, embodying an air of mystery. She leaned closer to another attendant and softly murmured, "C'est probable mon erreur." Perhaps an oversight. She glided towards him, a delicate smile gracing her lips as she spoke with a gentle yet resolute tone. "Monsieur, may I kindly request to see your boarding pass?" Traoré lifted his gaze, offered a subtle nod, and gracefully placed it in her hands. She gazed at the pass, then turned her eyes back to him. The seat number was indeed accurate, yet an unsettling feeling stirred within her. In her gaze, he appeared to be a soul out of place, as if he were meant for a different world. Moments later, she reappeared, a feigned smile gracing her lips. Yet this time her gaze was more unwavering. "My dear sir, I regret to inform you that we may need to relocate you to make space for another passenger. Would you be so kind as to consider moving to economy? We shall ensure you are duly compensated." There it stood, a vision to behold. The affront, softly spoken, yet keenly perceptive. Ibrahim Traoré arched an eyebrow, a hint of intrigue dancing in his gaze. "And what is it about me that draws your attention?" he inquired with a serene demeanor. "Text, no particular reason, sir," she replied, striving to maintain her composure. "A delicate adjustment for our esteemed guest." "Is there a guest of greater significance than myself?" he inquired, his voice remaining serene. Claire remained silent. She merely smiled, a soft curve of her lips that spoke volumes. Other passengers cast furtive glances, sensing an unspoken tension in the air, yet silence reigned among them. And what of Ibrahim? He simply reclined in silence and replied, "No, I shall stay in my seat." The tension had begun to weave its intricate dance, yet the storm lingered on the horizon, poised to unveil its tempestuous beauty. Claire was utterly captivated. Surely, a man of his stature would never utter such a refusal to her. She found herself unaccustomed to such a gesture, particularly from an African passenger, and even more so during her shift. She summoned a smile once more, yet her pride lay tenderly wounded. "My dear sir, I must insist, this is for operational reasons," she remarked with a hint of chill in her voice. Yet Traoré remained unyielding. He gazed into her eyes. "If it is indeed operational, might you kindly elucidate why I am the one being asked, rather than another?" Claire lingered in uncertainty. She found herself unready for such a serene defiance. Surrounding them, several business-class passengers were now captivated, their full attention drawn in. A gentleman gently set aside his newspaper. A woman paused her graceful dance of fingers across the laptop keys. A subtle unease lingered in the air, yet silence enveloped the room. None had the courage. The CEO had yet to make their entrance. He lingered at the gate, awaiting the arrangement of a seat. With a graceful stride, Claire made her way to the cockpit, leaned in to share a hushed word with the captain, and then returned, bearing a decision that shimmered with promise. This time, she remained silent before Traoré. Instead, she gracefully turned her attention to another distinguished black gentleman in business class, then to yet another. She seemed to be focusing solely on those passengers who appeared out of place. That marked her second misstep. Traoré lingered in quiet contemplation, his gaze fixed intently on the scene before him. Though his visage betrayed no emotion, his intellect sparkled with clarity. He was watching, pondering, attuned to every whisper. The humiliation did not incite his anger. Rather, it sharpened his resolve. A young African man, perhaps in his late 20s, appeared bewildered as Claire gracefully gestured towards his seat. "My dear sir, we kindly request that you transition to economy class." The young man inquired, "Why me?" Claire remained silent, gracefully accepting his boarding pass. It was then that Traoré rose gracefully. "Enough," he declared, his voice steady yet imbued with a weighty grace. "Your choices are guided by appearances rather than by the value of tickets. That is what one might refer to as discrimination." Claire turned, her heart fluttering slightly. "My dear sir, I must kindly request that you take a seat. I kindly ask that you refrain from creating a disturbance." Traoré gazed deeply into her eyes. For a fleeting moment, her breath was momentarily suspended. His gaze held an undeniable allure, unwavering, bold, and captivating. Yet, she remained unaware of the true essence of his being. To her, he was merely another traveler, playing the role of a mischief maker. She gracefully turned away once more, a tempest brewing within her heart. For her, this was becoming quite overwhelming. "These individuals," she whispered softly in French, "are forever creating a commotion." The CEO has finally joined the team. With a graceful smile, Claire welcomed him, presenting a glass of champagne with an air of refined charm. "We are addressing the seating matter, my dear sir," she remarked. In that moment, Traoré gracefully resumed his seat. He fastened his seatbelt with a gentle grace. His fingers gently danced upon the armrest. He needn't utter a single word, for soon, the whole world would come to know of the events that had transpired, and the identity of the one who had been slighted would be unmistakable. The CEO nestled into business class, reminiscent of a sovereign reclaiming his regal seat. He barely cast a glance at Ibrahim Traoré as he gracefully moved past him. Claire, the flight attendant, ensured his comfort with graceful attentiveness, adjusting his seat, presenting warm towels, and offering him another glass of champagne. The sentiment was unmistakable. Your presence is significant. That gentleman does not. The plane glided gracefully down the runway, ascending into the vast sky, bidding farewell to French soil while cradling a moment destined to reverberate between two nations. Within the cabin, all appeared as it should, serene and untroubled. The passengers found themselves at ease. The seatbelt signs have been extinguished. Yet, beneath the calm exterior, a potent force was quietly unfolding, an unseen tempest poised to erupt. Traoré maintained his composure. He remained silent, offering no words of discontent. He spoke softly, his voice remaining calm and steady. He chose to remain silent, concealing his identity from all. He sat in serene silence, akin to a gentleman observing a film as it gracefully unfolded, fully aware of the inevitable conclusion that awaited. In the meantime, Claire averted her gaze from him. There was an undeniable quality to his presence that stirred her, yet she chose to set it aside. In the midst of their journey, she approached his seat, a delicate smile gracing her lips, though it bore the weight of pretense. "May I offer you a delightful beverage, sir?" He cast a fleeting glance in her direction. "The water is delightful." She offered a swift nod and turned away, devoid of apology, courtesy, or respect. The CEO, in contrast, was revered as if they were a luminary. Claire chuckled at his witty remarks, drew closer as he shared his thoughts, and inquired about his significant endeavors in Africa. With an air of superiority, he remarked, "Burkina Faso is fortunate to have us. We are weaving harmony into the fabric of disorder." Claire nodded in agreement, blissfully oblivious to the fact that the very man she was disparaging sat merely 2 rows away. In the cabin, a woman, an African nurse on her journey back to Bobo Dioulasso, observed every detail with keen awareness. With a gentle shake of her head, she leaned closer to her neighbor and whispered, "That is our president." They remained blissfully unaware of the depths of their own humiliation. Her neighbor's eyes sparkled with surprise, yet silence enveloped their lips. The president, with an air of quiet dignity, seemed to shy away from the spotlight, while those present were reluctant to disturb the stillness that enveloped the moment. As the hours gracefully slipped away, the lights softened their glow, and the majority of passengers surrendered to the embrace of slumber. Yet Ibrahim Traoré lingered in wakefulness, gazing out the window at the drifting clouds. He was not filled with anger. Rather, he embodied patience. And as the wheels gracefully met the earth in Ouagadougou, that very patience would transform into a moment etched in time. The aircraft gracefully commenced its gentle descent into the enchanting city of Ouagadougou. The cabin lights gently illuminated as the captain gracefully announced their approach in both French and English. As the passengers gently stretched and secured their seatbelts, a sense of anticipation filled the air as they readied themselves for the descent. With a graceful stride, Claire glided down the aisle, her clipboard in hand, casting a warm smile towards the cell while elegantly overlooking Ibrahim Traoré. Outside, the view was simply enchanting, with the golden sun casting its warm glow over the rich red soil, while the city below stirred to life as the aircraft gracefully descended. Yet, unbeknownst to those aboard the plane, a burgeoning convoy awaited them at the airport, shrouded in anticipation. Lines of sleek black SUVs, formidable military vehicles, and a distinguished presidential escort gracefully assembling on the tarmac. Within the cabin, gentle whispers began to weave their way through the air, initially soft and delicate. "I behold warriors. Are we descending into a realm of conflict?" A foreign passenger inquired with a hint of nervousness. "Oh, no, that's simply military protocol." Another responded with a hint of sophistication. "Perhaps a significant presence is on the way." The French CO wore a knowing smile. "It must be for me," he chuckled softly to Claire. She shared a soft laugh with him, gracefully guiding him toward the exit, ahead of the other passengers. She had envisioned herself gracefully guiding him to the terminal. Yet the moment the plane came to a halt, the very essence of the air shifted dramatically. Through the window, the passengers beheld presidential guards in their crisp uniforms, standing in perfect formation, weapons at their sides, poised with unwavering attention. Behind them, the esteemed ministers of Burkina Faso stood in dignified presence. The Minister of Defense, the Foreign Minister, and even the head of security stood in the sweltering heat, unmoving, resembling statues of authority and strength. Claire glanced through the window, her breath catching in a moment of surprise. "What is this, I wonder?" she murmured softly. The CEO rose with an air of confidence, delicately adjusting his suit. "This is undoubtedly meant for me. I mentioned to you that I am engaged in significant endeavors here." Yet, before a single soul could disembark from the plane, a striking officer adorned in a black beret gracefully entered the aircraft. His boots resonated softly against the floor as he strolled gracefully down the aisle, taking in the beauty of each face that met his gaze. He paused gracefully at seat 2A. He lifted his hand to his forehead in a flawless military salute. "Welcome home, Monsieur le Président." All at once, the cabin was enveloped in a profound silence. One could sense the stillness of hearts in that moment. Claire's expression faltered, her gaze flitting between the officer and the man she had regarded with disdain throughout the flight. Her hands started to quiver delicately. Ibrahim Traoré rose gracefully, exuding calm and dignity, his silence speaking volumes. The CEO paused, his lips parting ever so slightly. "Monsieur President?" He hesitated. "That gentleman?" Traoré turned and offered a subtle nod, neither angry nor proud, simply a man who had transcended the need for words. Another officer gracefully entered the scene. "We have our instructions," he remarked with a chill in his voice, casting a glance at Claire and the CEO. "You both shall accompany us at once." "Excuse me, could you please clarify?" Claire murmured softly. "What is it about me that draws your attention?" "You are being detained for questioning." The officer responded with a pointed edge to his voice. "Your actions have cast a shadow upon the dignity of our esteemed leader within our beloved nation. That is a grave transgression." Claire attempted a delicate laugh, her gaze wandering softly around the room. "Oh, dear, this simply cannot be right. I was engaged in my work." Yet, alas, no one heeded the call. As Traoré descended from the plane, he was warmly greeted by his loyal people, his vigilant guards, his esteemed ministers, and a jubilant crowd that filled the space beyond the airport fence. The soft sound of cameras capturing moments echoed through the air. The esteemed leader of the nation had made their return. Yet this time, the truth was known to all. He had strolled among them as an ordinary man, and those who had assessed him by mere appearance would now encounter the repercussions of their misjudgment. Upon their return to the aircraft, Claire and the CEO found themselves gracefully escorted away, their wrists adorned with handcuffs. Onlookers beheld in astonishment as they gracefully descended the steps, their heads bowed, the weight of their pride now diminished. And thus, it was merely the dawn of a beautiful journey. The tarmac shimmered beneath the ardent sun of Burkina Faso, yet the gaze of the onlookers was captivated by the two figures being led away in handcuffs. Claire, the elegant Air France flight attendant, and the distinguished French CEO. Their once confident smiles had vanished. The arrogance had vanished. In its stead, a whirlwind of panic, confusion, and disbelief swirls about. They were ushered into two sleek black vehicles, encircled by an elite cadre of presidential guards. Silence enveloped them, a hush so profound that even the officers refrained from uttering a single word. The stillness resonated more profoundly than the loudest cries. It was the hush of strength being restored, of honor being safeguarded. Within the terminal's embrace, President Ibrahim Traoré graced a modest assembly of the press. He spoke with a serene grace, his voice devoid of fury, yet his words pierced the air, leaving an indelible mark on the heart. In Burkina Faso, we cherish the essence of a man beyond the mere surface of his skin. We do not yield to the allure of wealth or the remnants of bygone colonial traditions. Here, we honor dignity, embrace humanity, and cherish our people. Behold, the new Africa. The tale unfurled with a fervor that captivated all who heard it. Videos found their way into the online realm. Scenes of the arrest, visuals of the military honoring Traoré with a salute. News clips reveal the CEO being escorted away, reminiscent of a child caught in a moment of mischief. Social media blossomed into a vibrant phenomenon. One must honor Africa, and in times of hardship, I stand in solidarity with Burkina, a sentiment that resonates worldwide. Young hearts across the African continent rejoiced, embracing a moment destined to linger in their memories forever. At the Ministry of Justice, Claire and the CEO found themselves facing formal charges of public insult and discrimination against the head of state of Burkina Faso, alongside allegations of abuse of power and attempted intimidation. The French embassy sought to intercede. Calls were gracefully exchanged. Requests of a diplomatic nature flowed in gracefully. Yet Traoré offered a definitive reply. This is not merely a colony. This is a nation of its own, standing proudly and independently. They shall encounter the scales of justice, much like all others. In the meantime, Air France endeavored to manage the unfolding situation with grace. The airline released a public statement within 24 hours, an awkward apology laced with corporate jargon and hollow expressions of regret. Yet it fell short. The citizens of Burkina Faso have started to express their desire for a boycott. Other African nations gracefully joined the endeavor. Claire, confined within the walls of a detention center just outside Ouagadougou, succumbed to her emotions, tears streaming down her cheeks as she faced the relentless questioning. I was unaware of his identity, she wept softly. I was merely adhering to the established protocols. The investigator regarded her with a chilling gaze. It was unnecessary for you to uncover his identity. All he required was to be regarded as a fellow human. The CEO, now confronted with the looming specter of legal action in both Burkina Faso and France, sought to wield his influence in a bid for reprieve. Yet, the court delivered a compelling verdict. There is no immunity, no extraordinary treatment. May justice be served with grace and balance. Traoré never reveled in triumph. He never once ridiculed them. He gracefully returned to the presidential palace, resuming his noble endeavors, crafting roads, uplifting the youth, fortifying the military, and safeguarding the land. Yet that moment aboard the plane transformed into a tale of legend. A solitary figure cloaked in a soft hoodie, a flight attendant harboring biases, a CEO ensnared by the allure of pride, and a landing that transformed everything.